viewers, welcome back to Spotlight, and we are talking to Miguna. Of course, a very passionate discussion here. And just stay with us, keep sending us your views on 22232, that's the SMS line, and also keep engaging us on Facebook and Twitter. We'll be glad to have you pass part of this conversation. And again, just talking, Miguna, about the things that are going on right now. One of the matters that have been, on social media, a lot of discussion is going on around, this gentleman who is talked about a possible division of the country because apparently there are some areas that are excluded, and that's David Ndii. And that has generated a lot of conversation. And in terms of his views.
But I think you're being unfair to David Ndii. I've watched that interview twice. I watched Larry Mado yesterday, and they replayed it today, and I watched it again. And he did not say what you're saying. Yeah, so I don't understand why anybody would want to say things, a claim that David Ndii say things he did not say.
So what's your understanding?
No. He was asked a specific question. He was asked why he tweeted. He apparently tweeted or retweeted something that somebody had posted online, according to what he said. And he said it is part of a conversation he started last year when he published an article stating that Kenyans should start discussing divorce. And he explained why. And then he said that this was part of that intellectual discussion. And because he is involved in that discussion, and he provoked that discussion last year, he retweeted it. But he did not generate what he retweeted, nor did he disclose where that information came from, and he was not asked. So, but he did not draw them up, and he did not say that Kenya should be divided into parts. So I don't want to be unfair to David Ndii. First, as an intellectual, and secondly, as somebody who is fair. It's a discourse, and he's entitled to discuss ideas, including separation. Why shouldn't it be discussed? I find it very unfortunate that anybody can sit around and say, this topic should not be discussed. Why not? He's not discussing conspiracy to murder. He's not planning to bomb anybody. He's not planning to cause insurrection. He's saying, let us discuss this thing called Kenya. Is it equal? Is it equitable? Do everybody feel part of it? How do we make it more equal? How do we make it more fair? How do we include everybody? And if we can't, then those who feel excluded are entitled to talk about separation. Why not? I mean, that is how most countries in the world have been created. The United States of America fought for its independence from the British. The Canadians did the same. Every single country has done the same. In Africa here, Eritrea separated from Ethiopia. Why are we talking as if it has not happened before? I mean, we have to be intellectually dishonest to say we should not discuss it. Why not? If, in fact, there is going to be a system in this country of any group of people dominating power and excluding sections of the country or communities, those communities that are dominated and are oppressed have a right, including separation, a right to resist, to oppose, to fight against, and if necessary, separate physically. So I have no problem with David Ndii and what he discussed. I think he was honest. I think he was cogent. He was logical. The only people who have a problem with what he said are people in self-denial, hypocrites, intellectually dishonest people, or maybe ignorant people, or maybe people who prefer having an unequal country. Well, I don't subscribe to inequality.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would also want to hear your views on one of the things that Honorable Raila Odinga spoke when he was attending the Governor Joho's inauguration. Let's watch this.
We launched a national campaign for truth and electoral justice in Kenya. In this campaign, we will affirm our commitment to freedom, the rule of law, and democracy. We will defend our political rights and democratic space. Let the agents of foreign powers exhorting us to accept and move on so that they can continue to have lackeys to do their bidding know that we will not accept inferior governance. We will resist and disobey illegitimate computer-generated leaders and will not relent until the voices of the people, as expressed through the ballot, are heard and respected.
Of course, just bringing out strongly the consistent, the persistent process whereby voters and the outcomes and are going to what he's calling almost protecting the rights of the voters, and a lot of things going on in that speech. And what do you take as the main message that Raila Odinga is passing?
But Raila Odinga says he's going to talk about the rule of law, democracy, and freedom. What is wrong with that?
Okay.
No, I don't. What is wrong with that?
Okay.
What is wrong with what he said?
It's not that something is wrong with it. It's
Yes.
just what do you capture as the gist of it? The gist
Raila
of it.
Odinga campaigned for the presidency of the Republic of Kenya as a NASA leader. I'm not a NASA member. And then he has petitioned the Supreme Court because he believes he won, and he believes that President Uhuru Kenyatta won unfairly. So he's entitled to keep on saying that I think I won. I think he lost. And that's what he's telling his supporters. There is nothing wrong with that. Yeah. President Uhuru Kenyatta is also saying, I won, I won. Raila is saying, you didn't win. And they're doing so democratically. They're doing so peacefully. They're doing so legally. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, of course, we know there are many matters that are in court that we cannot discuss. But
No, it is wrong for anybody to think that what the Supreme Court said today means that you cannot discuss the case. No. You cannot only discuss the outcome, and you cannot discuss some personal details about the judges. But of course you can discuss the election. Of course you can discuss the case.
and of course,
And they did not say nobody can discuss the case.
and what we would want to just hear your views on is just our courts and whether we can actually trust the system of
You
the courts in
see,
Kenya.
one
Yes.
thing I really, and I've said this many times, and I'm going to keep on repeating it, our courts are not unimpeachable. We have not reached a stage, and there is no country in the world that has reached a stage where you can say that court only dispenses justice. That has not happened. Our courts are very weak. It's a fact. Our courts are riddled with corruption. There are a lot of judges that are very incompetent, that were only appointed on the basis of their connections to the powers that be. There are a lot of judges who cannot even write judgments. It's a fact. There are a lot of judges who make calls before they can render judgment.
Okay, let's take a phone call and then we'll come back
Yes.
to that. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm okay.
Can you tell us your name and where you're calling from?
I'm Benson
Yes.
Angalwa.
Yes.
I'm calling from West Pokot. I had a question for Miguna.
Okay, just go ahead.
Hello. Good evening, Miguna.
Okay, just go ahead. Yes, I will pass on the question to him.
Yeah.
Just go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Miguna.
Mm-hmm.
You have said that you are ready to work for the government of Kenya because it is the government of the people.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they asked you a question of working with Sonko, you are saying you cannot work with the criminals. Now, and Sonko is not working as an individual, but as a governor for a government of Nairobi.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the difference between the government of Nairobi, the local government of Nairobi, the county government, and the national government? That you are willing to work for the national government, for the people, but you're not willing to work for Sonko being a governor for the government of
all right.
Nairobi.
So these viewers asking.
But I wanted to finish my answer. So I'm saying there are judges who are doing their jobs.
Let's first answer this viewer who is asking, and we'll come to that. We'll come to the court's subject, and he's asking what you mean when you say you can't work with Sonko, but you can work with for the people of Kenya. That's the gist of the question.
Because Sonko is a person, one person. So I can't work with a criminal. It's just one criminal in Kenya. And I refuse to work with criminals. But the people of Kenya are not criminals, the majority of them. Yes.
Okay, and so the viewer, of course, has heard that response. And let's go back to the courts.
So what I'm saying is this, that there are few judges, there are very few in the Kenyan courts that are competent, that are ethical, that are just doing their job. So I'm not saying every single judge is corrupt. No, that would be very wrong. That would be a sweeping condemnation of everyone, and that is wrong. But we have a large portion of the judiciary that is very rotten to the core. So if somebody tells you, accept, trust, move on, from a judiciary that is so rotten to the core, that is totally unjust. So I take offense when people are very unfair to Raila also. I've had issues with Raila, but I will not be unfair to him. If a man feels seriously aggrieved of something, let him air his grievances legally and constitutionally, openly, without intimidation, without threats. And I believe he's doing a good job. He's airing his grievances. Let the courts hear his grievances. But that does not take his right from public expression. He still retains the right to expression, the right to speech, the right to a free conscience, the right to thought, free thought.
Okay,
Yes.
let's hear from another viewer. Hello, Alan. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, Alan. Where are you calling from?
Niko hapa Nairobi hapa Dagoretti.
Calling from Dagoretti. What's your question?
Mine is not a question, but it's just to give my views on how media handled just the concluded election, just as Miguna said.
Okay.
I think Kenyan lost in Nairobi to have a great leader like Miguna just because of media, because we never saw him even being interviewed on various television stations like other contenders like Kidero and Sonko. And the other one, they were just stating that we have the 2-horse race. Which 2-horse race? Yet we had more than 3 or 4 contenders. So I think Miguna should not just give up. In fact, I heard my fellow friend saying, "Oh, I think we have made a mistake in Nairobi this 2017.
All right,
but we hope Miguna will show up 2022 so that we can rectify what mistake we have done."
Yeah, we get the gist of your comment, and the viewer there is agreeing with you about the media, and it's the way the media did not extensively give you coverage, and the viewer is also saying that you should vie next time so that they can have another chance to
Thank you.
To exercise what they seem fit at that. They deem fit at that
This
particular
struggle
time.
continues.
All right, and just again coming home to some recent thing that you have started. You are calling for ideas that are supposed to help in liberation on matters like impunity and all that. Can you explain to us the gist of this?
Yeah, good question. You see, Kenya is not fully liberated, and we have to admit that. For instance, we know that there is a lot of tribalism in Kenya. We all know that. We know that there are certain jobs I cannot apply for, or that I would never have because of my ethnicity, not because I'm not qualified. And there are people like that from all areas and ethnicities of Kenya. or communities of Kenya. Then there is a lot of corruption. And you find that a lot of people have a lot of money, not that they have earned it. It's because they are either looting public resources or have looted public resources or have taken advantage to access to power that they have used to get rich. And through these riches, they now manipulate institutions of public institutions for their own selfish interests. And this is not right. Then you have more than 69% of the youth in Kenya who are unemployed. Actually, unemployment in Kenya is about 69%. That's the figure when we remove the informal sector. Then you have a lot of Kenyans who are living in slums, the so-called informal settlements, which are areas not conducive for human settlement or habitation. Then you have food insecurity. Then you have high commodity prices. The poverty rate is too high. The gap between the poor and the rich is too wide. This is where we are. Now, to make Kenya a more equal society, a more food secure, a more hospitable and humane society, where everyone will have access, for example, to healthcare, to educational facilities. What I mean by everyone is everyone, not just the rich. Where the gap between the rich and the poor is narrowed. Where the slums are eradicated so that everyone lives in humane, hospitable environments, regardless of their economic status. This is what I'm calling for. Where power is not taken and hoarded and controlled by only the rich or the strong or the ones who have looted public resources and therefore have access to this space, which is what is happening now, where people vote because they are kept ignorant by the media, the compromised media, or those who wield power. I am looking for that merit-based, equal, humane Kenya. And I'm asking people to give ideas on how we can make that a reality.
Of course, the further question to that would be,
yes,
once people respond to this, because those
yes,
are pertinent issues that affect us on a day-to-day basis,
yes,
what would be the way forward as far as those ideas are concerned?
There, I said how we do this, which means mechanisms of doing it. So of course I know, and people have told me, the National Intelligence Service will be there offering their ideas, trying to join and whatnot, hopefully to control it or what. But people will be giving me ideas, and you wouldn't know who has given what ideas, because I've given an email address and people are sending ideas. We will filter it, we'll analyze it, and we'll decide on the next course of action. I say we because I'm not working alone. The administrators of my website, it's not me. There are Kenyans who are volunteering to do this. And if you recall, in 1959, the Cuban Revolution was brought by 45 men. Revolutions and changes, transformative changes in society, are not brought by the majority. They are brought by a very small group of people who are very clear ideologically, very disciplined, focused, and are committed to the core. They bring change.
Okay.
We can bring this change that I'm talking about
And
by less than 30 people,
and
or with less than 30 people.
of course, the imagination then would be that you'd have to, the public is giving its views.
Yes.
But then you'd also have to work with the systems and the institutions.
No, you don't have to. No,
that
you
are,
don't.
Mhm. So
No,
how do you intend to
You work
go
with
about
Kenyans.
it?
You work with Kenyans. If you work with institutions, you can never bring the change I'm talking about. These institutions were not set up by happenstance. They were set up by people intending to control and continue the status quo.
So are you saying then that the
Yeah.
people will set up new systems, new methods,
No,
over
no.
engaging these same issues, or what's the idea?
My brother, you don't understand struggle and you don't understand transformation. Transformation by nature is doing things outside the box, doing things outside the formal institutions.
And that's-
is thinking outside what the institutions have made you think.
And that's precisely because if
Yes.
we are working outside the system,
Yes.
in a way it means then that there's still an organization, you know,
I'm outside the system.
that is working outside the system.
You have to appreciate I'm outside the system.
To change the system, right?
You are outside the system. I'm outside the system. And that is the only way change comes. You can't change an unequal system from within. You can't. Because there are rules to make sure that the system remains the same. It's like coming to Hope TV. I don't own it. I'm not a member of the board. I'm not an employee. And you're telling me to change it. I can't.
Okay, we definitely look forward to seeing how that unfolds, and
Yes.
hoping that you're receiving a lot of ideas. And
Yes.
let's see how that package runs out, especially when it's in the hands of one like Miguna and the people.
It
right?
will work. The struggle will continue.
All right, and we want you to speak to the Kenyans right here.
Yes.
Just the last word.
Yes, I thank Hope TV for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to speak to Kenyans. I would like to tell Kenyans that the struggle is a protracted struggle. It's a long struggle. Struggles by their very nature don't succeed in 1 week, in 1 month, or in 1 year. It takes time. This one is going to take time, but focused, disciplined, and persistent, we are going to succeed. So join me in continuing the discourse, in continuing the discussion, in propelling the progressive, transformative agenda forward. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Miguna,
Yes.
for being on Spotlight tonight.
Thank you.
And viewers, thank you for your engagement through the phone calls, through the Facebook messages, and through the text messages as well. We are very grateful. And when we are thinking about this season, whereby we've come from a very competitive time of politics, of course, a reflection on competition is important, because competition is definitely one that is inevitable when it comes to a democratic process. Actually, competition is important because it brings out the best out of people, out of institutions. But of course, the attitude in competition is also important. Sometimes we have a positive attitude towards competition, but there's also a negative aspect of competition. And when you think about it on a day-to-day basis, positive competition always brings better community. But negative competition always brings chaos in one way or other. And so as Kenyans, as we move forward, even as we engage in healthy competition, let's make sure that we do not make the people who lose to be our trophies, to display them as trophies. Rather, let us work together, as Miguna would say, with the Kenyans to bring them also to a point of triumph. You've been watching Spotlight. This is Hope TV, where you look and live. Do have a good night.